learn some helpful things to help out at home. Mine is sort of more general than some of the other ones on just homework. So to start it off, I have a little video for you.
I'm going to tell you a story from my book, The Social Animal. It's a story about a boy named Harold and his mother, Julia. One day when Harold was in second grade, Julia called him from the playroom into the kitchen table and told him it was time to do his homework. Harold ran through his normal gospel of homework avoidance. First, he told her he hadn't been assigned any homework. When that small fib cracked, he told her he'd already done it at school. This was followed by a series of ever less plausible claims. Having completed his nightly liturgy, he was asked to march to the front of the hall and retrieve his backpack. He did so with the energy of a convicted killer on his way to the execution. Harold's backpack suggested that Harold was well on his way to a promising career as a homeless person. Inside, one dug through the various geological layers. One could find old pretzels, juice boxes, toy cars, Pokemon cards, PSP games, stray drawings, old assignments, worksheets from earlier grades, apples, gravel, newspapers, scissors, and copper piping. The backpack weighed slightly less than a Volkswagen. Julia pulled Harold's assignment folder from amid the wreckage and realized with a sinking heart that the next 65 minutes would be spent completing the 10-minute assignment. Julia dimly suspected, and research by Harris Cooper of Duke University confirms, that there is no correlation between how much homework elementary students do and how well they do on tests of the material or other measures of achievement. She also suspected that this nightly homework ordeal served other purposes, to convince parents that their kids are getting a suitably rigorous education. In any case, Julia, trapped in the overpressured parenting life that everybody in her social class ridicules but few renounce, girded herself for the bribery and cajolery that would follow. She would, over the next few minutes, present Harold with an ever more elaborate series of incentives. Gold stars, small pieces of candy, BMWs, all to induce him to do his homework. When these failed, as they inevitably would, she would wheel out the disincentives. Threats to cut off TV privileges, to take away all computer games and videos, to write him out of her will, to imprison him in a cardboard box with nothing to eat but bread and water. In any case, Julia sat Harold down with his homework assignment at the kitchen table. She turned her back to get a glass of water, and 7.82 seconds later, Harold handed her a sheet of paper claiming his homework was done. Julia looked down at the homework sheet, which looked like it contained 3 or 4 indecipherable markings that seemed to be in early Sanskrit. This would mark the beginning of the nightly redo phase of the homework. Harold went through his normal protests, fell into another of his cycles of misery and internal chaos, and Julia knew that it would be another 15 minutes of turmoil and disorder before he was in any mental shape to do his homework. One modern view of this situation is that Harold's freedom was being crushed by the absurd strictures of civilization. The innocence and creativity of childhood was being impinged and bound by the conformities of an overwrought society. Man is born free but is everywhere in chains. Harold wanted to do his homework. He wanted to be a good student and please his teachers and his mother and father, but he was just unable. He somehow couldn't help it that his backpack was a mess. Sitting at the table, he couldn't control his own attention. Something would happen by the sink and he'd check it out. Some stray thought would drive him toward the refrigerator, or to an envelope that happened to be lying near the coffee machine. Far from being free, Harold was distracted by every stray prompt, so he would get frustrated and think he was bad. Julia made these moments worse by losing patience. At these tired, frustrated moments, she just told Harold to buckle down and get it over with. That never worked. But Julia had other resources. When Julia was young, her family moved around a lot. She switched schools and sometimes had trouble making new friends. At those times, she relied on her mother's company. They would take long walks together and go out for tea together, and her own mother, who was lonely too in the new neighborhood and had nobody to talk to, would open up and talk. Julia felt privileged when her mother opened up in this manner. She was just a little girl, but she had access to an adult viewpoint. She felt she was being admitted into a special realm. Without even realizing that she was replicating her mother's behavior, Julia sometimes would share her own special experiences with Harold. Often when they were both on edge, when times were hard, she would just find herself talking about some adventure she had had when she was young. She would give him privileged access into her life. This particular evening, she told him a story about a drive she had taken across the country with some friends after college. As she did this, his eyes were rapt upon her. She was treating him with respect and letting him into the most mysterious region, the hidden zone of his mother's life that had existed before his birth. He got subtle intimations of his mother's girlhood, her maturity, his arrival, his growth, this moment now, and the adventures he would someday have. Julia looked over at Harold and noticed he had his pencil dangling from his mouth. He suddenly looked happier and more collected. Julia had triggered something. an implicit memory of what it was like to be calm and in control. It was like a miracle, and Harold soon got his homework smoothly done. But of course it wasn't a miracle. If there's one thing developmental psychologists have learned over the years, it is that parents don't have to be brilliant psychologists to succeed. They don't have to be supremely gifted teachers. Most of the stuff parents do with flashcards and special drills and tutorials to hone their kids into perfect achievement machines don't have any effect at all. Instead, parents just have to be good enough. They have to provide their kids with stable and predictable rhythms. They need to be able to fall in tune with their kids' needs. They need to establish secure emotional bonds that kids can fall back upon in times of stress. They need to be there to provide living examples of how to cope with the problems of the world so their children can develop unconscious models in their own heads.
So, judging by some of your reactions to the video, I can tell that what was portrayed might be a little familiar to the homework routine at your houses. So the reason that I wanted to show that video, and Matt Ziegler has read The Social Animal by David Brooks and highly recommends it. Near the top of my to-read list. So it might be interesting for you as well. But sort of the purpose behind that video for me was to show how important it is to set the stage and to have a calming and relaxing homework environment. Obviously, you know, I've got the word ideal up here. I know family life is crazy and you can't always have everything, very calm and the same routine every afternoon. That just doesn't happen. But I am going to kind of share some ideas that maybe you would be able to put in place to help with the structure. And structure and routine can help build healthy habits, and that's what we want. So your homework environment should be as much as possible calm, relaxing. It should not be the bedroom. The bedroom should be where children sleep. Free of distractions and organized and stocked. And then, you know, as the video showed, you as the parent or the family can help the child get into the right mind frame for homework. I know that habits can easily be developed where, as the mother was in the video, it becomes a negative place. Hopefully Noble Academy has helped with that. I know I've heard from many parents who come from other situations that Noble Academy makes the homework better, but I know it's not always perfect, and there can still be a lot of struggles. So, first thing, nourishment. Nourishment of the mind and the body. So our kids have been at school all day. They've been working really hard. It's really hard on their brains. So they need a little bit of downtime after school if possible. I know medicine wears off, so there's that balance between trying to get the homework done before the meds wear off and also trying to give them some time to recharge. I went to a talk the other day by Russell Barkley, and he's an ADHD researcher, and he showed it kind of like a battery. So being in school all day really drains down their battery, and some little things to kind of refill the tank would be, you know, physical activity and time outdoors have both been proven to help focus and just kind of recharge that tank. Also, smart snacking. I know that a lot of our kids are, kids are kids anyway, and they can be picky, and I know a lot of the medicines that they might be on may make it even worse, but just to keep in mind, snacks should include some protein and carbohydrates, and actually, you know, there's sort of a myth that sugar can be bad or it makes, you know, ADHD kids more hyper. Not necessarily the case, especially glucose is really good for the brain. So sipping those drinks, not necessarily chugging them because then you get kind of the sugar crash, but to sip that drink while they're doing the homework, the orange juice, lemonade, Gatorade, that type of thing is really good to help keep them up. So we've got nourishment of the child, then we have some organization. So not only the location of the homework should be somewhere the same place every time, but we should also be well stocked. Hopefully with the binder they already have a lot of the stuff that they need, the pencils, pens, highlighter. Dry erase board can be great just for, you know, repetitive things where instead of using paper, we try to use it in class a lot because it's just something different. Paper, index cards, and then a timer, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And then to collect all the materials they need before they start. So it's not, you know, sitting down doing homework and then, oh, but this is in the other room or that's in the other room. So just making sure everything's right there for them to be able to get started on. And then to go ahead and look at the assignment book and look at haiku. So I wanted to show an assignment book. Hopefully you're pretty familiar with this already, but this would be where the child writes their assignment, and then the teacher signs off here. The parent in grades 7 through 9 should sign off here, and then this is at the bottom where the parent should sign off after seeing everything. And then in the junior high, they get the 3's, 2's, and 1's here. And then if they need their textbook, this should be circled, or if they need to go to haiku, that should be circled as well. So a lot of our kids have trouble prioritizing. So that is something that we, the advisor can sometimes help with in Checkpoint, but that's something that you can also help with at home. So to have the list of all assignments, they do have it in their assignment book, but sometimes it's messy, or sometimes it can be very motivating to have it on somewhere where you can wipe it off, like on dry erase, or scratch through it, or something. That can be a very satisfying thing. I know those of you who like to-do lists probably understand that. And to start putting an estimated time beside each one. And a lot of our kids don't understand time. It's part of their learning disability. So that is definitely a learning process. So to kind of, for them, and then for you as the parent to kind of go back behind them, but to say, this math assignment should take me 15 minutes, and this reading assignment is going to take me 30 minutes, and to just start doing that. Then after they have completed the assignment, and you can time it, and then you can start revising so that they can get a better judgment of how long things really do take them to do. Then they can number them based on preference. Preferably the longest and hardest shouldn't be the last thing that they do, but a lot of kids like to get that shortest or easiest assignment out of the way first. So maybe they want to do that one first and then start from longest to shortest. Or some kids want that longest, hardest thing out of the way first, especially those kids that, their meds are going to wear off and they really need to get that. Or maybe they want to alternate, long, short, again, some of that depends on when the meds wear off. But for them to go ahead and get that plan in their mind of the order that they're going to tackle it, and to have that visually, that external, not just in their head, like, okay, I'm going to do math next, but for them to be able to see it, be able to cross it off, check it off. All right, use a timer. A lot of our kids have trouble with time. This is onlinestopwatch.com, and it is a really good visual timer. So it shows time, obviously in the circle, but they can really tell. It makes it more physical, more external for them than just some numbers or just an arbitrary amount of time.
Why are you looking at that?
All right, so schedule short breaks. I would write that into their, their assignment list as well. So it could be either you put the timer on, and after 15 minutes we're going to take a 2-minute break. Russell Barkley the other day suggested for every 10 minutes of focus, not just sitting there, staring out the window, but a focused work, a 3-minute break to help recharge that battery, to help fill that gas tank. Also encourage snacking and some short bursts of physical activity. Maybe they're going to run the dog down to the end of the block, or maybe you're going to...
Your timer was still on.
Or maybe you're going to practice those math facts where they're, you're going to have them across the room, they're going to run back and forth so to just get that blood flowing. And then, like I said before, the constant reevaluation of estimated time. So if your child thinks it's going to take them 2 minutes and then the assignment actually takes them 30 minutes, and have that discussion of why is it taking you longer, or did you, and then communicate with the teachers. We don't want to give 5 hours of homework. We don't want your child to be spending that much time on homework every single night. So we don't always know that it takes your child longer. So make sure that you're communicating with us. Oh, that's my last slide. Awesome. Because I'm almost out of time. Any questions? Yeah.
You know my son Austin, right? Well, he comes home after school and does his homework before we even get there. And I'm sure he's up there in his bedroom with the TV on and doing it like that. Is there any way we can, how do you do that when you know he's doing it?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. What are your suggestions?
I don't know, I guess. I mean,
Does he get it done?
Not much, but we know
I
he's watching
quit
TV. We know.
complaining.
I don't think he's giving it 100% like he should.
Or
he's got-
retaining everything
yeah,
that he should.
because he's watching TV. And should we wait till we get home? Tell him to go home.
not necessarily. I mean, I guess it depends how long you're not. I mean, you don't want him to wait, 2 hours when he could have been productive.
Yeah.
But you could put some limits on what he could do, or tell him maybe for the first half an hour, I don't want you doing any homework. I want you to watch TV then, or
Yeah.
set some.
I mean,
If
and
you
then we get
set
back
some
into the
clear
medicine
expectation.
issue. The
Yeah,
medicine's
well,
out,
yeah,
so
I know. So you don't want to wait.
yeah.
Yeah.
So are you said, because with Eliana, I just am sort of taking her word that she's doing this homework. I'm not asking to see every worksheet. Should we be asking to see those, or?
Not necessarily. A lot of teachers would just rather see what the child does independently, and then have the consequences, here if it's not done. And then we would be in communication with you of saying, Aliana said she's had her homework for the past 5 days, and she has not had it. So could you could you be more active at home? But a lot of our kids do. They do their homework, and then if they don't, then they're either going to get detention or they're going to get a bad grade. And so that's sort of where the consequence comes in. All right. Well, thank you for coming. I think